Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Hello, Nikki Kinzer.
We are in a post-pandemic world, but I don't believe that. I think we're still in a pandemic world.
Yeah, I think the post-pandemic world, the first rule of the post-pandemic world is to realize you're still in the post-pandemic.
Yes.
You're still in the pandemic world.
Yes,
right?
I agree. So we have a lot to talk about today about this.
We
this
really
transition is important.
It's a tough one, especially if you're following up on last week's conversation about the challenges of transitions,
right?
Especially with ADHD. So it's a good part two. I'm very excited about it. We should get right to it. Before we do that, head over to takecontroladhd.com. You know the drill. You get to know us a little bit better right there on the website. You can listen to the show right there. You can subscribe to the mailing list. We'll send you an email each time a new episode is released. Or you can reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at Take Control ADHD. If this show has ever touched you or helped you make a change in your life for the better with ADHD, we encourage you to visit patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. That is where we have our listener-supported podcasting stuff, right? You go there, you give us a few bucks a month, and you get access to some neat perks. One of them is the live stream. You could be watching, what you would have missed this morning in the live stream.
I'm rolling my
by watching
eyes.
along if you're a patron. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. She's rolling her eyes.
Uh-huh.
She knows she wanted to talk about gross medical stuff.
No, I really didn't. But
She
thanks,
did.
Pete, for that.
She did. No, it's okay. We're moving on. And so you could see all kinds of fun stuff that we do on the live stream before the show goes live. You also get access to super secret Discord channels, depending on the level that you're in over there. And our current goal, our current stretch goal is when we reach I think it's now 4 more patrons, we're gonna start doing a second podcast for members only. And that podcast is me talking about technology and processes and tools and stuff, and that'll come out every 2 weeks. And so we've got 24 steaming episodes of Fresh Pete podcast.
That's right. Oh, Fresh Pete. That should be the name.
Yeah, Fresh Pete. Oh no. What about soliloquy?
No. I like Fresh Pete.
Okay. Oh no. Now I need a whole new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air aesthetic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how that goes. New name every week on Pete's podcast. You never know what it's going to be. So very excited about that. So, if you've been thinking about joining the Patreon group for a while, you get all kinds of fun other perks, and you get to join Study Hall, Nikki's Study Hall.
Yep.
That is a freebie thrown in with your membership. There are all kinds of perks you can learn more about at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Thank you for your support.
All right, so let me go ahead and set the stage around where I found the inspiration for this podcast. We're doing a series around transitions, and I was doing some research and looking for different kinds of transitions that we deal with. And I came across this article in Attitude Magazine from Sari Solden, and it was around returning to a post-pandemic world. And now this article was written in the spring of 2021. And probably at that time, if we think about that time compared to where we are now in the fall of 2021, it probably looked a little more promising to say post-pandemic world back then. Right?
How the worm turns.
Yes. So what I want us to do is I feel that the article had some really good points and had some really good ideas and ways of how to get kind of back into transition, from being at home. Granted, though, I will say, and we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, I don't necessarily think that we're in a post-pandemic world. I think we're still right in the middle of it. This is not going to be a show around politics or what we think or not think about vaccines. I just want to make people know that that's not what this is about. This is about transitioning from not being in school, going back to school, being in an office 8 to 5, and then all of a sudden your world changes and you're at home and now you have to go back to the office, right? So these are just things that we have to deal with regardless of what your beliefs are. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through the different points in the article, and we'll make sure to put the article in our show notes so you can read it yourself. And, Pete and I are going to have our own spin on it.
I just love that you opened the conversation with, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about returning to a post-pandemic apocalypse world. That is the kind of rosy sunshine attitude that I count on from you, Nikki Kinzer.
So optimistic about this.
Yes.
I'm going to be like Rob
Hardcore.
Lowe in that show.
Hello, pandemic.
Parks and Rec.
Hello, pandemic.
Hi, pandemic. Welcome. Yeah. All right. So first point is not feeling guilty about what you did or didn't get done during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that I think is important for us to recognize, because I definitely see it with clients. I see a lot of clients feeling bad that they not only didn't get everything that they thought they could get done during a shutdown, but they feel bad about not getting things done anytime. So I think it's a really important point to talk about it. And what she says, and this is her quote: "The last year was not a vacation and it was not a sabbatical. It was a trauma. As a result, our psyches have changed. We should give ourselves a break and realize we've all gone through something unprecedented. I can't say that word. Unprecedented. Yeah, you can leave that in there. I don't care. Millions of people have lost loved ones and or had the disease themselves, suffering terrible losses."
Yeah.
And I just think it really is something that we have to take a step back and at the beginning of the shutdown of everything, all of these things came up about organizing your home and decluttering, and you can look at the museums and start a new hobby online. And, there were just all these things, which all make sense. I mean, I can see why, they came up, because we want to use our time somehow.
Sure.
Right. But there's also an amount of pressure that comes with that. And I thought this was a really good reminder of remembering this was a traumatic transition that none of us were expecting, and we still don't know how it's going to end, or if it's going to end, or how it's going to end, and to give yourself some grace.
I think that's really important. And I went through that. I don't know about you. I mean, I absolutely went through that phase of, we're in a pandemic, so that must mean I have the opportunity to do a lot of things that aren't normal, right? And that, I feel like, again, in the eyes of past Sari Solden, writing this article some time ago, I think that's a thing that gets me thinking about not the things I've already given up on in the last 6 months, but the ways my habits have changed, my behaviors have changed day to day, that I'm terrified of not being able to shake again, going the other way. Right.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that I've been talking to are dealing with that, this whole experience of, oh my God, I don't want to change again. I'm scared of changing again. This was really hard change to make, and I'm not ready to change again. And, and so I think that's where I move from this initial point, which is, now it's not that I feel guilty anymore about the things I didn't get done, because I've already felt guilty about those things. And now I feel guilty about my anticipated level of engagement in whatever comes next, because I'm exhausted. Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a very fair point, for sure. And we've had enough time, for some of us have had enough time to get a little bit more comfortable where we are right now. So like you said, it's hard to just all of a sudden say that that's got to change too.
Right.
And how does that look? And I don't think it's going to look the same. And that's, that's something else that she talks about. And her kind of, this is her second and third point because they kind of go together.
Hmm.
Um, but you may have liked not saying no to things. Right.
Yeah.
So, as an introvert, I can totally relate to this because there was no pressure of me having to invite people over or me going to places that maybe I was kind of tired and didn't really want to go. It's not that I don't want to do those things or I don't want to have people over, but they do take energy and it does take, for an introvert, it takes a lot of energy, I guess is probably the easiest way to sum
And
it
how
up.
wonderful it is
So,
as an introvert to not be invited to stuff for a while.
right. Yeah. Like you don't have to say no, or you don't have to you know, um, convince yourself or talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
I sound terrible. I sound antisocial, and that's not what I
Not at
mean at
all, but
all.
for somebody who's like,
Um,
I totally relate to that. For somebody who lives with anxiety, like there is a certain
yeah.
amount of relief that comes with not having to face those things every single day. And I think the same thing goes for
Hmm.
ADHD. Like there are when the world slows down, I feel like it's given me time to breathe. Right? That's a
Right.
real
Right.
benefit to where we've been for my brain. Like, it hasn't
Yeah.
been such a constant daily hustle of shame that I'm letting people down because everybody is slowing down. All
Right.
expectations have changed, and I don't like going back to the old way. I really
Right.
don't.
Right. Well, and you think about the fear too, especially in those first, few months. Like life was dangerous if you went outside. And
Yeah,
so there's all of that like underlying fear and like you said, anxiety. And I don't think it's easy to just forget about that. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to necessarily go into a place where there's a lot of people and not think about who's got what and do I need to wash my
yeah.
hands? Everybody's psyche is going to be a little bit different after this experience. And so one of the things that she says too is, take your time going back and reflect on what you've learned about yourself. And I think this is interesting because this is a transition period where you could start to set some new boundaries. If you've been a person who has always in the past said yes to everything, or you're feeling like you're overdoing things, or you're overbooking or whatever, this may be a good opportunity for you to actually think, okay, what am I comfortable going back to?
Mhm.
And what boundaries do I need to set? Not just because of COVID, but just because I want to live a happier life that's more
Yeah.
balanced.
And this goes back to what we were just talking about. Like when the world slows down, it gives you an opportunity to reflect on exactly those things and take back some control in your life where you may have felt
Hmm.
it had been taken from you without
Hmm.
having the expectation of of immediacy to it, right? You don't have the
Right.
pressure of, oh my God, they need an answer right now. You can really stop and say,
Yeah.
what happens if I do say no to this thing? Right?
Hmm.
I can
Hmm.
play out that drama a little bit and see if I can make sense of what best case, worst case scenarios are for me in this scenario, like not going to this outdoor work picnic where people are maybe less conservative than you are in terms of social distancing and
Hmm.
mass, or maybe you want to be less conservative yourself and maybe you want to find those engagements where you don't have to worry about those pressures. So I think on
Right.
both sides, just having a chance to breathe is important and taking it.
Hmm. Okay, so her fourth point was what are the new rituals that you might want to keep? Which again goes back into boundaries, but what were some of the things that you found in the last year that really helped you and that either helped you in some way of dealing with the pandemic, but also just made life easier. And I got to tell you, one thing for me for sure is online grocery shopping. Never did it
Yeah.
before. Started doing it during the pandemic, and now I can't imagine ever not doing it.
Yeah.
It is so
Well, so
convenient.
convenient. Do you do the pickup or the delivery?
I do the
Yeah.
pickup. So I'll order it all online and then I go to the store and sit in one of those
Yep.
little parking lots or parking spots that are just for this. And then they come out and bring it out to
That's
me.
our standard too, and it's pretty amazing. Occasionally, we'll run in and get something, but
Sure.
it's pretty rare these days. And I think we are more strategic and better planned in terms of our meal planning
Mm-hmm.
because we're doing it so
Mm-hmm.
conscientiously at home, like ordering the things that we need for the meals and not over exuberantly buying because we were hungry. So our grocery
Right.
bill's also gone down a little bit as a result of it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the other thing that people might find is that because they cooked more at home, that maybe they'll cook more at home now too, going
yeah,
forward, you know? So there's a lot of things that, again, kind of looking at what can you take out of the experience that was positive. I mean, what helps you? And then I think it's also, coming back to when are you comfortable to start kind of pushing out of that comfort zone a little
yeah,
bit and thinking about intentionally, who do you want to see? What places did you miss the most? And make those things count because it's important to you and because you're still, a little
yeah.
uncomfortable. So we want to make sure that you're thinking about, what you're doing. And I'll tell you, for me personally, and I'm sure everybody else, a lot of people will feel this way too. That connection of seeing people in person, it's so important for us humans to have that and to be able to give your loved ones a hug and to be able to see them in person and see all of them, not just their headshot.
Yeah.
So I really encourage you to think about that because it does definitely help you with your spirit and your soul and being able to get past some of the things that you probably are grieving about with what may have been lost. So
I feel like we've changed our expectations of socialization. And, for example, there's a wonderful new food cart area in our side of town. And Portland is kind of known for its food cart culture. And
yeah, right.
downtown has always had, a lot of wonderful food carts. But out in the burbs where we are, like it's not been a
No,
thing.
yeah.
And there are some wonderful food truck like collectives. They actually, there's one's called the Food Truck Cartel that's in our area. And there are probably 30 food trucks that are all around a patio area that has been great. And those kinds of things, like taking advantage of those for quick outdoor meals, lots of variety, so we can start to re-socialize and
Hmm.
remember that, oh, I do, like, as much as Zoom has been great, I do need human beings. I
Right,
do
right.
need even to be in
Even as
proximity.
an
Yeah,
introvert, we need human
probably
beings.
more as an introvert, we need human, you know what I mean?
Probably. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like that has been really, really powerful. I was surprised at how I didn't want to stick to delivery for groceries and for food, DoorDash, all those kinds of things after the first few months of the pandemic, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those. Like I wanted to leave flowers for my delivery people. I wanted to like
No, for
I
sure.
was
Yeah.
an enthusiastic tipper, and that experience has. I feel like it became a little bit stressful because it's more expensive, right? It's in some
Sure.
cases substantially more expensive, but also I realized not getting in the car and driving around and picking up things when I need them, doing takeout for meals or doing the grocery pickup, that was causing additional stress for me. It was making me feel really cooped up. So taking advantage
Yeah.
of any opportunity to get me out of the house and being more intentional about, maybe I'm going to drive to Forest Park downtown or on the west side to actually get a walk in this afternoon. Something that encourages me to move it was really big.
Hmm.
The other thing that I did take on, oh, man, I'm an Apple Fitness Plus guy. You know
Yeah.
about Apple Fitness Plus with the watch?
No.
It's this new
Mm-mm.
thing they started, I don't know, it's been a year probably. And it's if you have an Apple Watch, you get and you have the service, which is a couple bucks a month, but it's included in like their Apple One kind of main account, which we do. And you can start a workout with a live trainer, and they have this raft of live trainers and everything from high intensity workouts to yoga to all this stuff. I'd never done yoga, and I've been doing yoga for a year. And I got to say, it might be
Nice.
against the spirit of, yoga to say this, but I'm getting pretty good at it.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're a yogi,
I'm
right?
kind of jamming on yoga stuff now. And
That's great. Good
that
for
has
you.
been something that I never, ever, ever would have tried were it not
Right.
for, that sort of behavior change for the pandemic. So I'm
Yeah.
trying really
Yeah.
hard to think about those silver linings of change in my life that aren't
Right.
stressful, right? That
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
where I can actually observably live in this new skin as a result of
Mm-hmm.
post pandemic or pre
Mm-hmm.
post pandemic.
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the biggest things that I've taken away is giving up control.
Mm.
Just coming to terms with not being able to predict anything.
How does that
Uh,
manifest for you around the house? In your relationship with your husband or with your kids, like how has that changed for you locally, like in your microculture?
I think it gives me a lot more compassion and grace with my family, because especially with my kids, because I think anyone who's a parent during this time, we saw what it did to our children, and I saw the depression and the anxiety and the things that were not good for their mental health. And so it was, I think, giving compassion and understanding, and not trying to necessarily help them, because I didn't know how to
Of
help them,
course.
because I couldn't tell them everything was going to be okay. I couldn't tell them that their dad wasn't going to get sick. I couldn't, and so it was just being with them, and being and having, as a parent, to say I don't know.
Okay. You just like I feel like I'm going to start crying right now because that hits me so close to home. And as a
Mhm.
parent having to look at your kids and say, I don't know. I don't know if
I
you're
don't
going to
know.
get sick. And if
Yeah.
you do, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. I got sick and it wasn't pretty. I didn't know how it was going to
Right. You
hang
had
out.
it.
Like I didn't know the pictures, and that the sort of we have the photos coming up from a year ago today kind of thing. And there was
Right.
a whole like all July was like Pete with
Yeah.
like the masks on his face, like unable to breathe. And that's not a great memory to come back to. That's like super
No.
triggering around here. And
Right. Right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
ugh, I don't know.
I know. That's all. I mean, it's just, ugh. It's a heavy thing to talk
Yeah.
about. And, but I'm glad that we can have the
Hmm.
conversation. And I say that because this is a transition. It is a transition, no matter where you are in it, and you're not alone. We're all going through it. And, yeah, we don't
We don't
know. We
know.
don't
There is
know,
something that
but
is both it's
yeah, we're not
terrifying
alone.
and liberating about that. We don't know.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
used to talk about it. I mean, take 5 years ago on this show, we might have said, the liberation of saying I don't know, or my whole thing about I don't have a strong opinion about that, like really changing the way we think
Right.
about things. But that has taken on an unbearable weight now that
Yeah.
we've lived through the context of the last 18 months and what it's done to our culture.
Hmm.
And so yes, that's huge.
Yeah. All right. There you have it.
Oh, well, that
That's
we
our
didn't
show
really talk about
today.
politics at all. How'd we do? That was okay.
I think we did
I think we
great.
did great. Okay.
I hope
I do
so,
too.
unless we get all of like the negative
Well,
feedback, but
I hope people take it.
please don't
Yeah,
do
don't
that
we
to
don't
us. We don't
we
like
don't like
it.
that as much. That's triggering too.
Yeah.
Mostly we just love doing the show and love being able to take a minute and reflect on the kind of transition that this is. And I think for me the big takeaway is be patient with yourself.
Mhm.
And if you are suffering the anxiety that comes along with this, just know, yeah, as Nikki said, you are not alone. We are all
Mhm.
in this together, and whatever we can do to lift each other up is, that's the thing to celebrate. So,
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out and listening to this show. You know, I posted the link to the article that Nikki was poking at. Nikki was inspired by. I posted in the Discord chat. We are doing a lot of our live stream conversation in Discord. I will also post that in the show notes, and Discord mom Melissa will make sure to update the ADHD resource library. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you jump into the resource library if you're ever looking for any of the apps or, I don't know, recipes, articles, anything we've ever talked about on the show. We've consolidated into the ADHD resource library, and so make sure you check that out as well. Thank you all for downloading and listening. We appreciate your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute, jump over in the Show Talk channel in Discord. That's where we are, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.